Hey y'all, I'm Jerdy, and in this video, we're going to go over some tips on how to be the best tank you could possibly be in Season of Discovery. Feel free to include anything you might feel is important in the comment section below if I missed anything. You may see some Paladin specific tips in here as well, but there will mostly be just overall tips for any class and spec that can do it in this game. First, I want to talk about weak auras, specifically reminder weak auras. Like, I definitely need, as a Proud Paladin, a Righteous Fury weak aura. There have been many times when I did not have a weak aura and I went in and wondered why I was losing aggro, and I got mad at my DPS like chill. Then I realized I just didn't have Righteous Fury on. It is a non-negotiable for Prop Paladins to have a Righteous Fury weak aura like the one I have here. I also like this weak aura because it also shows me my avoidance percentages and when I'm avoidance cap. Warriors, a shout weak aura, so you have battle shout or commanding shout up, and then rogues, a poison weak aura. Stuff like that. Make sure you have something that tells you that you have what you need on. Like your buff, your raid buff, your personal buff is on. All tanks should have a consume and world buff weak aura that shows you what you have and what you're missing. It's very important that you have this because maybe you think you have everything and you have to manually scan through every single buff you have to make sure you do, or maybe you already have a certain flask or potion up and then you drink one again and waste it. I highly recommend having some sort of consume or buff weak aura. And speaking of consumes, free action potions and restorative potions are very, very good for tanks. And they have been throughout all of Molten Core, and they will be in future raids as well. Make sure you have start attack macros on all your abilities. It's very important that you do this as you're tabbing through and you're hitting a button, or you click on an enemy and you're trying to hit that button. You don't realize that you're not attacking it, but with start attack macros, even if you hit the button and it's on cooldown, or if you don't have enough rage or energy, you're still going to start attacking the target so you don't lose threat and you don't lose potential damage that you could have done to that target. This next one's super important too, and this is having nameplate add-ons like Plater, because if you don't, and if you don't customize it, it makes it really hard to maybe swap over to a target when you have multiple targets. So you can see my Plater stacks things vertically. If I want to click to a certain target, I can. Tab targeting does help, but you're swapping through each target. Sometimes tab targeting works fine, but sometimes you want to grab a specific target immediately, maybe for a kick, maybe for a stun, maybe for a taunt, and being able to mouse over and click that specific target will help. For Plater, the option is here on stacking nameplates. You can see mine is checked on. If you check it off, it doesn't look as good when you're pulling multiple targets. I'll show you right now. So you can see how right now everything is not vertically stacked, so everything kind of mashes up together. This is a little harder if you want to find a specific target to target. I also like Plater because it just lets you know when you have threat versus when you don't have threat. You can see I don't have Righteous Fury on, so it's registering me as a DPS, so the enemies are red, meaning I shouldn't have threat. But if I put Righteous Fury on, it's blue saying, hey, you do have threat. And it will turn red when you don't have threat, or someone else in your raid who's marked as a tank does not have threat. In my opinion, on tab targeting versus clicking, if you have like 2 or 3 mobs, it's really easy to tab target. But if you have a lot, that's what I would recommend, using a nameplate add-on like Plater and having that stack vertically option so you can click the one you want specifically. This next thing I'm going to say is definitely a practice what you preach moment, because I actually don't have this yet. I'm a bad tank here for not doing this. But that's having mouse over macros for certain abilities. For prop paladins, you should definitely have a mouse over macro for Bop and a mouse over macro for Blessing of Freedom. If you don't know what that does, it means I don't have to click someone's character and then hit the keybind for my button. I just hover over their nameplate and then I hit the keybind and it targets that player. It saves the hassle of actually clicking a name and just hovering over, hit the keybind and save them. Onyxia is when I needed that mouse over macro for Bop, because there have been plenty of times I'm trying to target the player and then click them and then hit Bop, but by the time I click them, they're already dead. So be better than me and have those mouse over macros for abilities that it applies to. Next, use LOS as much as possible, especially in caster heavy dungeons like Skullomance or Strat Undead. Those dungeons can be a very, very not fun if you do not LOS those mobs. Now the spider guys and Strat, their spider ability, that little web shoot ever, isn't LOSable, so just outrange it. Run back far enough as they're coming to you. That will save you a lot of time and a lot of wipes instead of just face pulling it and hoping for the best they don't pull anything else. These next tips are prop paladin specific. Always pre-pop Holy Shield before you do any abilities or any pulls, because you get the spell power and attack power buff when it's up. So if you're not popping it, you're losing out on some really strong threat and damage. In those caster heavy dungeons I mentioned, Scholomance and Strat Undead, use your resistance auras. Shadow and Frost will actually benefit you more than you think in those dungeons. You actually don't need Consecration to hold threat on large packs of mobs. Consecration's threat is actually not that strong. When I'm pulling mobs of like 5 or 6 or more, what I'll do is I will open with Avenger's Shield and I'll see which targets got hit by Avenger's Shield, and I'll target the target farthest away from those guys and hit Hammer of the Righteous to make sure that hits 3 additional targets, and anything left I will hit with single target abilities like my Shield of Righteousness, Exorcism, or Judgment, and then I will have Holy Shield up beforehand to generate that threat, and then keep tab targeting to make sure I am holding threat on all the mobs. And the last thing I want to talk about is something that for some reason is like super controversial, and even now in phase 4, for some reason of all phases, it's still like a hot topic to talk about, and that's the subject regarding tank DPS. And hot take, I guess, your tank DPS does matter. The amount of damage you can potentially do as a tank is important, not just to you, but your entire raid. I've seen these comments in my YouTube videos all the way back in my phase 1, 2, and 3 guides on Prot Paladin when I advocated for ret tanking, because back then ret tanking was the best tank spec, and the best mitigation back then, and still kind of in this phase, was just faster kill times. The faster the boss died, the less damage you took. The Prot tree did not offer any real mitigation that you noticed as either the tank or your healers. You were just role playing as a tank, and in fact you were kind of griefing your raid by not doing more damage and helping the boss die faster. For some reason, we're still on this topic in phase 4 and potentially going into phase 5 when our best gear is mitigation gear anyways. We get buffed offensively from our defense, from our shield block value. That buffs our damage too. I don't understand why we're still having this conversation. And if you look at Warcraft logs too, there's like one dude in the top 20 for Prot Paladins who's trying to ret tank. Everybody else is deep prot and mitigation gear with maybe a few DPS pieces for some crit, which is fine. They're still death cap, they're still avoidance cap. They're just adding on some more damage that they can do. What's the issue? I've seen these comments in the Like Club Discord and other people's YouTube videos, and I'm starting to get frustrated because these are places where people want to get the best information, or they want to learn how to be the best of their class. They want to know how to maximize their class, not only in mitigation, but in output, right? They want to know how much damage can I put out. That's what you should do as a tank. And recently I stumbled across a video about Prot Paladins in phase 4 in Molten Core, and I watched it. I watch other videos about tanks and Prot Paladins that are on YouTube because I want to see what other people are talking about. And he opened up with how he doesn't want to gimp the raid for the sake of his personal DPS and fill the empty void in his soul, you know, making fun of people who want to do damage to the tank, right? And I couldn't have rolled my eyes harder when he said that. But when he said that, it just didn't make any sense to me because he kept going on how like, why should I focus on if I can do 100 more DPS when I can help a DPS player do like 500 more DPS? And he just kept saying these things, and I'm like, what fight in Molten Core does that apply to? What is he talking about? Because help me out here. That scenario doesn't exist. That's not a real thing happening. What fight in Molten Core am I gimping the rest of my raid because I'm doing my maximum amount of DPS? How does that hurt the rest of my team? That would benefit the rest of my team because, like I said earlier, when you contribute your maximum DPS and everyone else does, the bosses die faster and you get hit less. I thought, well, maybe this was posted before the recrawl and how the ads counted towards your personal parse. But even then, that still would have benefited the whole raid on their overall parse and damage. So none of this made sense to me. And I was a little suspicious of this video because when I watched it, he opened up with saying how he was annoyed how other Prot Paladins were playing. And he posted that video 4 days after my Molten Core tank guide. So I'm like, is this because of me? Are you mad at me for this? Like, what's going on here? And I left a comment on his video, a very nice comment, because I was asking, hey, what are you talking about? I don't understand what that comment means. I feel like that's not a real situation. Because I'm curious, is that real? Because I don't think it is. But it frustrates me because it's a non-issue. And I keep seeing these conversations pop up, and I have to get in arguments with people in the Like Club Discord too, because I see it there too. Why are we bringing this up? I don't care what your opinion is. Your opinion is not fact. You are just role-playing as a better tank by saying you are doing more mitigation. That doesn't exist. You're not really doing anything besides just doing less damage. If you don't want to do more damage, sure, but I don't care about that opinion. If that's how you want to play and you want to keep role playing as a better tank, sure, whatever. You're not in my guild. I don't lead you. I don't pay for your sub. You pay the way you play for, right? I don't care. But when you're getting involved in like a channel where, again, we want to talk about how to be the best tank possible, both with output and input, your opinion on that does not matter there. When you make guides and videos about fake scenarios that don't exist, that is misinformation, and that's where I get frustrated. I don't care how you want to play, but that opinion does not matter in certain places and is not appropriate for those places. If you don't want to do more damage and you're fine with doing the bare minimum, that's awesome. Okay, cool. But that's not what I'm going to talk about, because you can do more and you can perform better while not sacrificing mitigation. I'm sorry if that sounds mean. I'm just over it. When we want to talk about being the best of our class, your DPS does matter because it benefits everybody, not just you. As I do my outro, I do want to kind of apologize because I edited that clip before I filmed this clip. It does come off very kind of condescending. I don't care how you play, and I hope you enjoy the way you play. My main thing about that is don't try to push these opinions that aren't data driven as fact in places like the Light Clip Discord or other class Discords. Those are places where we just want to learn how to be the best in every aspect of our class. I hope you enjoy playing the game however you enjoy playing it, but chances are if you're watching my videos, you're trying to be the best in all aspects. But as always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for saying hi. Leave a comment down below if you have any more useful tips for being a tank in Season of Discovery. I have a Phase 5 BIS list coming out. It just got postponed though because we have some updates on some weapons. So I have to go back and retest things with some friends on what's better now. And it's hard when no one's doing test work. And a lot of our damage comes from getting hit from the Reckoning proc. So yeah, I'm just rambling. Follow me on twitch.tv/dirtyjd. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm so close to 1,000, y'all. That's crazy. I never thought I'd even be close to that number. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video.